Okay, continuing on with operations with radicals, example 9 is going to cover multiplying radicals. Now there are two different methods that I'm going to go through, and you can choose which one you like the best. The way that I prefer is method 1. So in method 1, I'm going to start by just simplifying what I can before I do any multiplication. You'll notice that I'm multiplying the square root of 5 times the quantity of the square root of 3 minus the square root of 75. So right away, I recognize that I can simplify the square root of 75 by pulling out a perfect square, which is the square root of 25 times the square root of 3. So now I'm going to rewrite this as 5 square root 3, and that's going to be subtracted from the square root of 3. The square root of 5 will still be multiplied by that. Now I'm going to clean up what's inside of the parentheses. So even though the 1 isn't written here, this is 1 square root 3 minus 5 square root 3. So I'm going to subtract 1 minus 5, which gives me negative 4 square root 3. And that is going to be multiplied by the square root of 5. Now I just have one last step, and that is to multiply. So the square root of 5 times negative 4 square root of 3. I'm only multiplying what's inside of the square root symbols. So my final answer is negative 4 square root 15. And this is method 1, where I chose to simplify and clean up what was inside of parentheses before doing any math. The other way is to just distribute and multiply and then simplify at the end. So what I'm going to do is the square root of 5 times the square root of 3, which is the square root of 15. The square root of 5 times the square root of 75 is the square root of 375. Now, it doesn't look like I can simplify anything within here, but what I can do is pull out perfect squares from the square root of 375. So if I pull out the square root of 25 times the square root of 15, this is because 25 times 15 is equal to 375. Now I'm left with 5 square root 15, and the square root of 15 is being subtracted. Again, even though the 1 isn't here, this is the same as 1 square root 15, so I'm doing 1 minus 5 because I now have like radicals. 1 minus 5 is negative 4, and the square root of 15 stays the same. So notice that I arrive at the same answer. It's just a preference in how you like to solve the problem. If you would rather simplify in the beginning and then multiply, or if you prefer to multiply and then simplify. It's really just your personal preference. All right, here are your monitoring progress, problems 26 through 28. Go ahead and click pause and then give these problems a try, and then I will walk you through the answers. So in number 26, I'm going to show method number 1. And I'm going to simplify first. So the square root of 32 is equal to the square root of 16 times the square root of 2. So this simplifies to 4 square root 2. I can't forget about the 7 that's out front, so that's going to be multiplied. 8 square root of 2 stays here, and then I'm adding. So this is my new expression in the parentheses, all to be multiplied by the square root of 3. Now I have to do this multiplication, so 7 times 4 gives me 28 times the square root of 2, and I need to add that to 8 square root 2. 8 plus 28 gives me 36 square root 2, and that's going to be multiplied by the square root of 3. The square root of 3 multiplied by 36 square root 2 gives me 36 multiplied by the square root of 6. And this is my final answer. In number 27, I'm going to use the difference of squares pattern because you'll notice that I have an expression and I'm squaring it, and it's the difference of squares. So that's going to give me 2 square root of 5 squared minus 2 times 2 square root 5 times negative 4. And then I'm going to add 4 squared. 2 square root of 5 squared is 4 times 5. And then I'm going to be adding 16 square root of 5 because I have negative 2 times 2, which is negative 4, times negative 4 gives me a positive 16 square root of 5. And then at the end, I will be adding 16. 4 times 5 is 20. Everything else will stay the same. And now the only thing I can combine is 20 plus 16, which gives me 36 plus 16 square root 5. And that is my final answer. In example number 28, I am going to go ahead and simplify first. So I'm going to pull out the cube root of 8 times the cube root of 2. And the cube root of 8 is 2. And then everything else will stay the same. The cube root of 2 minus 2 cube root of 2 is just negative, or negative 1 cube root 2, which will then be multiplied by the cube root of negative 4. So the cube root of negative 4 multiplied by the negative cube root of 2, negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8. So the cube root of positive 8 is just equal to positive 2, and that is my final answer.